What's up, guys? I hope you're having a beautiful day today. We have a very, very special guest. Actually, our first guest on the channel, very first, David DUFORD. David, thanks for having us. Thanks for coming on. Crazy.
Hey, yeah. Thanks for having me, Jerry. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
My crazy cat lady figurines here. It's my good luck charm here.
Do you sell those?
I should.
That would be a good promo.
Stream of income. People would probably buy this crap all day. You know. Good, man. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, David, thanks for coming on. I'm sure the majority, 98% of our audience knows exactly who you are. You've been in the game for a long time. You're one of the original guys. You've been pumping out content like a maniac. But if for those two people who don't know, what is the 30-second intro of David DUFORD?
Yeah, so I run a YouTube channel, have been since 2014. Quick recap of who I am. I came into business in 2011 selling Final Expense. I've experienced great highs and great lows, failing out of the business within my first year, coming back strong and sticking into the business. Now I recruit agents, train them, and really do a lot of content. You see a lot of my stuff on YouTube on all sorts of topics, a lot of Final Expense stuff, a lot of generic sales training for insurance agents, and really just try to help people. And it's worked pretty well so far. So that's who I am and what I do.
Awesome. So Dave, is it fair to say that you've worked with hundreds of agents or thousands of agents?
Yes, I have worked or contracted with, it's around the 1,000 mark. I've certainly helped more people than that just through the years on my content and emails and answering questions and that kind of thing. Yeah, lots of interaction with agents everywhere.
Beautiful, because that's what I want to talk about today. Is I really want to talk about components to take somebody who's coming into the business or is at the beginning of their business or just not where they want to be, and really pick out those key components and what they can do to make that jump and kind of what you see, with that. So I guess my first question, do you think that great agents, it's just instinctive, it's just who they are, or do you think it's something that can be built, or do you think it's a combination?
That's such a good question. It's philosophical depth there. Are agents born or made?
That's right.
I think they're, in a sense, I'll take the controversy. I think they're born, but I think they realized that they had it. Like, I mean, I'm the perfect example. I mean, I'm an introvert. I grew up playing role-playing games. I played Magic the Gathering. I mean, like, was like an uber geek, and the last thing I would ever have thought I would do would be to sell anything. But I realized that I had some kind of component in me that wanted to achieve, wanted to do better, always have. Okay. It just took different forms, unusual to sales. And when I matured, or at least got to the point graduating college, this stuff started to manifest itself out. I was like you at one point. I ran a personal training gym. I found out I loved being an entrepreneur. And even though I didn't have the sales skills, I believed in myself enough to know, hey, I can change myself to become what it is that I want to be. Yeah. So maybe it is kind of both, I mean, everything I learned was just through reading and application and not being afraid to screw up. And through mistakes, I guess I've become pretty good at it. Yeah. And now I teach it, Right. So I don't know. That's a good question. I think you have to have some character traits that, you have a short-term memory. You're not going to hold yourself, you're not going to berate yourself too bad that you screw up. Yeah. You're not going to be afraid to try something that's unfamiliar, to expose yourself, to, look like a fool. Like those are things that you may have or you don't. Yeah. If you got it, you try hard enough, I think you can do well. So I think it's kind of a little bit of both.
Yeah, I think it's interesting too, because I'm like, people would never guess, but I'm a super introvert as well. And people would never guess from the videos. I'm like, yeah, I'm very, I don't feel comfortable in crowds and stuff. And really? So I don't think I think that's what holds a lot of people back, is they say I'm an introvert, but I don't think that's, something that is actually a key characteristic in being good at sales or, working with people and stuff like that?
I think it's actually a good thing to be an introvert, because you listen more as an introvert. I think like the typical, and again, just like Hollywood projects stereotypes, this is the same, and Hollywood projects stereotypes about salespeople. Everybody has been told salespeople are extroverted, they're charismatic, and some certainly are.
Yeah.
However, there's a lot of salespeople that are, potentially diminutive. They're not these towering people of charisma. And what makes them good is they know what questions to ask. They're very keen and curious, and they care about the people that they're with. They're sincere. And that's different than the projection of what a salesperson is. So,
yeah.
The good news is that, you can be an extrovert, you can be an introvert, you can be something in between. And as long as you have those traits of, learning and being open-minded to improving, you can become good at this.
Yeah, totally. So when you first meet an agent, can you get a feel for him in like the first hour or 30 minutes? Be like, this guy's going to be great, or girl, I don't know, it's going to be tough.
It's like the $1 million question, man. It's hard, dude. I mean, I've recruited agents that I thought, and then they do okay. I've got a guy right now, he wrote $50,000 in Final Expense in June, and he was 20 or 21 when I recruited him. And it's like, I mean, he had some things. It's hindsight's 20/20, but I didn't think he'd be writing like that.
Yeah.
And that's what's crazy about this business is like the people who are successful come from all sorts of walks of life. There's not like some, law of what makes a successful insurance agent. They're within them that are good, but you don't know the whole picture. I would love to say I can call it if somebody's going to be good.
Yep.
It's easier. I would say the inverse is true, Jerry. I can tell an agent who's not going to do well.
Yep.
But I can't tell the agents who are going to do well. Like
Gotcha.
The ones who don't do well are the ones that are overly self-confident in themselves to the point where they don't need advice or coaching.
Yep.
They know it all.
Right.
They're perfectionists. They can't make a mistake. It would be, a sin if they did.
Yep.
So there's some things that I can indicate. It's like, yeah, you're not going to do well.
Yeah, they know it all, but they're coming to you for coaching.
Yeah, like why are you talking to me? You can do this yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. So personal question, I guess, that agent that you talk to and you're like, this dude has got no shot. Do you tell him?
I'm trying to think the last time I recruited a guy like that. It's a really good question. So here's my little trick here. So I have a process I put in place that, and you guys can check it out. If you recruit agents, I highly recommend you do this. I don't just talk to any agent. And it's not because I'm arrogant or anything. It's because a lot of what you find, and you find this in sales too, you start answering the same questions over and over again,
yep,
right?
Totally.
So I put videos out that, first of all, make it easy for people to get the information. Second of all, it allows them to do it in a way that there's no stress and that they can make their minds up if they fit my parameters of being a part of my agency.
Yep.
I talk about that, like you can't be a know-it-all. This isn't a get rich scheme. You've got to like work. Okay. If you're not going to work, or if you're a crybaby, it's not going to work. So I try to say things to discourage the people who are weak hands or, people who aren't a good fit.
Yep.
And very rarely do they get through the filter, the funnel, because I want to spend my time as a recruiter and as an agency builder talking to the best odds agent prospects, the ones that know what Dave DUFORD's about, know what the pros and the cons are, that appreciate the transparency. So I don't really get a lot of Debbie Downers, if you will.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to talk to them. It's just not a good fit. So it's hard to answer that question. I would probably try to say it in a nice way.
Of course.
That it's not a good fit.
Yeah.
But very rarely do they get through.
Yeah. It's that polarizing effect, right? You attract your audience and you push away not your audience.
Yes.
That's what you want.
Always a good marketing tactic too, guys. Agency, sales, tell people who you are right for. Simultaneously as telling them is who they are, who I'm or your opportunity is not right for.
Yep.
Because you're going to actually attract the people who are already attracted to you more by saying, this isn't right for A, B, and C. If it is, and you fit this, don't go any further.
Mm-hmm.
People like that. And it's just transparency, because you don't get that a lot in anywhere these days.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I've totally, in my business, I've learned that a lot, to not be everybody's friend. I have to be exactly who we are. And if you're not who we are, people probably don't like me, which is, it's great. It's that polarizing effect to where, you really attract your audience.
Yeah. It's my personal opinion too, especially it applies to any business. Look, you got one life to live. I don't want to spend my life, especially if you run your own business, which selling insurance is a business. It's not a job. It's a business. I don't want to live my life doing something I hate. Okay. Yeah. Or dealing with clients that I begrudge. The work should be a value added to your life. It should certainly be lucrative, but it's not just about the money. It's also about, actually making an impact on people who appreciate it. Yeah. And I think the more you can do that, you can set up the polarization, the better.
Yep. Yeah, totally. So $1 million question, what makes you so good at what you do?
I think let me just tell you what people tell me. Okay. Mm-hmm. Totally humble here.
Yep.
People just say, hey, I appreciate you being straightforward in some form or fashion. When you watch my content, this is the kind of conversation you get from me. I tell you how it is. I tell you it the way it is, whether it sounds good or not. I don't just talk about blue sky. What I mean by that is all the good stuff, but none of the bad. I try to lay it out completely 100% transparently. And the thing is, again, I keep going back to this, but in sales, in running a business, it used to be that you would hide the weaknesses, you would hide the bad things. But we're at a zeitgeist now, or some pivot in the marketing world, where the more raw and not raw in like a raunchy way, but just, just the more sincere and genuine you are, the more people are attracted, because there is a severe deficit of sincerity in our society. There's so much fakeness. And the more that you can pull away from that, you will attract people who themselves are attracted to that, which now more than ever are a lot of them. And if you're selling insurance, or you're recruiting agents, or there's a lot of your competition doesn't think that way. Yep. They show the bling, they show the cars, which doesn't mean anything. It could be rented. I mean, that's like who knows? You know? It doesn't mean that these people are good people or can be trusted. Mm-hmm. They're not focusing on the core, what I would do, which is being a value added. Mm-hmm. So anyways, besides that, I mean, that's what I think people say that makes me different. And there's a consistency in that. Yeah. We just got done doing another recording for your channel or for my channel, and keep talking about Gary Vee. Gary's the same way. A good reference point for anybody that wants to kind of learn this. Like, I didn't learn about Gary Vee until I knew about him, but I didn't start watching his content till the last 6 to 12 months. Okay. And I found oh, wow, he just basically does everything that I kind of stumbled upon. Yeah. He gives a heck of a lot more than he takes. And it's not instant, but if you give and you give and you give, and you do it long enough, you develop this reputation of a giver, and people appreciate that. And I think there's this karmic force in the universe that rewards people who give without expectation. And it always comes back in some form. Yeah.
No, and I think that I would agree with that, Reed. We've done a few videos together now, and every time I message you, you're like, boom, let's do it. When do you want to do it? We schedule it. So, I definitely appreciate your time as well. And I've had that same experience with you too. So tell me, what do you think there's a lot of things going on right now in the marketing world, just as we had talked about with do this or take this sales book or this sales course or this marketing or this and that. There's a lot of things floating all over the place for agents that are just coming into this industry. What do you feel like is something that you see agents are kind of attracted to initially that is a waste of their time, that is the biggest waste of their time?
I don't see as much of the, buy this $5,000 or $6,000 high ticket course stuff
Mm-hmm.
like I do with other types of products or programs. There's a lot less of that in the insurance business.
Mm-hmm.
I think to an extent, I talked about this with a guy the other day. I think the biggest problem, it's a paradox. Like on one hand, having all this information is good, right?
Yep.
Freedom of information. There's so much we can know more about selling insurance, marketing for insurance, like what you do. That makes a big difference. However, on the flip side of that, too many options typically leads to confusion.
Right.
It leads to people not doing anything, or they go down rabbit holes and they chase things that are not focused on the primary goal. And so I would say I don't know if this quite answers your question. What I would recommend to agents, the biggest pitfall is getting distracted. Come into this business, find out what you want to sell, do your due diligence, judge the options out there, take your time, find what works. And the best thing I could give you is put blinders on and go to work.
Mm-hmm.
If you've got somebody that like, trust, that's going to teach you how to sell Medicare, final expense, annuities, they've got a marketing and a sales program. Turn off YouTube and follow everything they say if that's what you find out.
Yep.
Don't even, watch me, watch YouTube, but everybody else. But in all seriousness though, I mean, like, you can be distracted. Like, you imagine for a moment, you go out in the field, you have a bad week. You may have done everything wrong, but now you're in this emotional conundrum where you're frustrated. Is this going to continue to happen? And when you're frustrated, that's when you start looking at solutions. Yeah. And you start to see, well, maybe this shiny new object is the problem. Maybe this will fix the problem.
Right.
And what happens is you end up going into this like circular, continuous loop. You don't grow. You just struggle at something. And then when you run up against the wall, you give up and go to the next thing. I know one guy who, perfect example of this, he's been in the business 17, 18 years. He's got a new thing to sell every 6 months. Mm-hmm. And he's not a bad agent. He just, he doesn't know how to plow through the adversity.
Right.
And it's through the adversity that you become better. You grow your character. Yeah. You learn things you wouldn't otherwise learn. And I think if you try to avoid that too long, it's going to come back to you. So I think that's the biggest problem that agents face, is just staying focused and staying away from the things that will distract your focus. Keep your eyes on the prize and understand frustration will be there. It's normal, but you just keep working, even if everything's telling you to rethink things. Yeah. It'll be crazy when you go through it, but that's what you really need to do.
Yeah. Make a plan, execute, and see your plan all the way through.
Yeah. Not just for a plan for a week or two and then change it for a new plan. Yeah. It's a plan you got to keep for a year. Yeah. Make a promise to yourself, commitment. That's the key thing. A lot of people won't make commitments that long, and that's why they struggle. Yeah. Do things that other people won't do. I just did a post on Facebook about that today, I think. Mm-hmm. That's perfect examples. Execute on a plan continuously for a long time. Yeah. Most people don't get anywhere.
So what do you see coming up in the industry? Obviously there's a lot of change in direction and stuff. What do you think is going to happen over the next few years?
Okay. I've been thinking about a lot about this recently. I've been here since 2011. That was kind of in the middle of the Great Recession. We've been living on good times recently, economically speaking, but there's these signs and indicators that the world's about to collapse financially. Right. I don't know if it's that extreme, but
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's going to be implications depending on what you sell. I think, first of all, you should take the signs seriously, especially if you're in a business where the customer or the prospect has a direct tie to the economy. I think the biggest thing that happened in 2008 and 2009 is that mortgage protection completely fell off the face of the planet. Yep. So for you guys, and why? Well, because the housing market collapsed. And if the same thing happens, the housing market collapses or people just stop buying as many leads, what you're going to see happen is more competition for the prospects that do buy homes, because that's the main way that you generate leads. And you're going to see less opportunity. There have been some organizations, I can think of a couple that are multi-level marketing, mortgage protection, that have shifted into final expense to some degree. And I think they're doing it in preparation because of what they went through 10 years ago.
Gotcha.
So things like that. Be prepared. I think this is a great opportunity to consider final expense. Of course, that's what I specialize in, but final expense generally, I think, is recession resistant.
Yep.
Lincoln Heritage grew double digits year over year, which is the most expensive product that's one of the most expensive products out there. Even despite that, they did very well. So I think that's a good sign for final expense agents that opportunity will still be there. I think annuity sales will be great. When seniors are losing money because the stock market's dropping, 20%, they're going to be flipping their lids. And look, they're going to be in a position where they've got to get to a point where they protect their principal and make sure that they don't lose the money they accumulated all those years.
Right.
And, they don't want to outlive their money. So for me, I think that's a big direction I'm going to take my agency, is to focus on final expense, but also the annuity side of the business too.
Gotcha. Yeah, that sounds great. So wrapping it up here, I got one more question here, and you're a Gary Vee guy. I'm a Gary Vee guy too. So I think you'll recognize and like this one. So if you had a drug that you could give any agent that would give them clarity on one particular thing, what would that be?
So what would the issue? What would it? Say that again.
If you could give an agent a drug that would give them clarity on one particular thing, empathetic or whatever it would be, what would it be and why?
I see. So if I was giving them the cure to some, if they could see everything in perspective.
To one piece of clarity inside of your head that you're like, why doesn't everybody see this the way that I see this?
It's a good question. There's so many.
Yeah. You can only get one drug. Sorry.
I want to say consistency, because I think that's the big thing, is that I'm looking from the standpoint of someone who's been in the business 8 years. I've been through virtually every problem that every other agent has experienced. And I know that everything will be okay. If you work through that problem and don't give up. So I would tell agents, man, if you just knew what will happen if you're consistent in this business, you will be in such a better position. And so, if you can just stick to it, get through the hard parts, man, 5 years after you're in this business, things are so much simpler. You'll probably be making a substantial amount of money, and you'll have the freedom that comes from being in this position of getting through it. You might have some passive income, or a portion, if not all, that's passively generated, and you can do things that other people can't do. But the only way that comes through is through a level of consistency, and meaning consistent prospecting despite the adversity experience, consistent lead generation, consistent everything. You have to keep playing the game. You can't give it up. Yep. You can't dabble in it. And it's so important to understand that. And I wish, I could give that drug, but you can't take the drug. You've got to just take that leap of faith.
Yeah.
Despite, everybody that you love, everybody that you care for telling you otherwise, because you can count on at some point, if you go through hard times, they will. Yep. You got to stand strong. And,
Yeah, no, I love the congruency too, because the question prior, you were like, you have to create a plan and execute on that plan and see that plan all the way through. Now you're talking about consistency, and that just shows how very genuine and authentic and how much you really mean that to these people out there listening, to just stick through it and keep rolling.
All right. Yeah. Yeah, man. It's just, I think it was Al Granum that said that the first 4 years of selling insurance is very similar to being in school, right? Getting your bachelor's. You're not going to make a lot of money. Or even better, being a resident at a hospital. You're going to work like crazy. You're going to make very little money. But if you can survive that, the outcome is, well, you've developed a skill set As a doctor, for example, you get through residency and now you're a full-fledged doctor, you're making good money because you've earned it and you've gotten through really the trial and the test period. The same it's the same as an insurance to a certain extent. It may not be 4 years, it may be 2 years, it may be 5 years. But generally, if you survive through it and keep going, it's well worth it. And I can tell you, for a guy that has only inside of 14 years worked 1 year in corporate America, I would never want to go back. I would never want to go back. I had 1 year and I could tell, I can't imagine these people. Jerry, I don't know what your background is, if you've ever worked in corporate America, but there's people out there, I can't believe it, you know, that work a job that they hate, that verbalize how much they despise it, but never do anything for themselves. They work god awful hours, not for a couple of years like we have to, but their whole entire career. They don't get a respect. They have nowhere upwards to go. Their income is capped, and it sucks. And that's what you go to if you aren't consistent, because you're going to work for somebody who has a plan that you'll be a part of as opposed to your own plan. And, you know, that's the alternative. And for me, and I hope for you guys out there, it ain't something you want to do.
Yeah, totally. Man, I love jamming with you so much. Tell the guys out there, if they're looking for sales training or anything like that, where can they find you and some of the stuff that you do as well on your side?
Yeah, probably the best place to go, since we're watching this on YouTube, go to the search bar and put my name in, David DUFORD. I've got a channel, just subscribe there, watch my content. I do daily videos of different links. I do live streams sometimes. I do interviews like this. I do coaching calls, so you can see me talk to new agents, experienced agents, lots of different content. So subscribe there. If you want to learn more about joining my agency, you can go to davidduford.com, and there's a link that says Join Dave's Agency, and then you can watch those videos I mentioned earlier about all the different sales and marketing programs, predominantly Final Expense and annuities, although we're rolling out with some new ones come over the next 6 to 12 months as well.
Beautiful. David, thank you so much. I always love jamming with you.
Thank you.
I appreciate it so much. I think you bring a ton of value, and hope we can do it sometime again in the future.
Anytime, Jerry. Anytime, man. Thank you.
All right, guys. Besides that, we are out. We'll see you guys in the next one.
See ya.
Thank you guys so much for checking out the interview, and thank you, David, again for hopping on the channel. If you guys have not checked out David's channel yet, you need to right now, because there's so much ridiculously good content on there for the past years and years and years of sales training content. I'm going to link that down below. Also, if you guys are on this channel, you guys have not subscribed yet, I would appreciate the subscription. We will see you guys in the next one.